You are listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense. Hello and welcome to Radio Nonsense, the official Comedy Club for Kids podcast that's suitable for all ages from 2 and everything in between. I'm Tiernan and, hey listeners, I'm back here at Comedy Club for Kids HQ. Everything does smell overpoweringly lemony after last week, but it is really nice to be home. And you're probably wondering what exactly happened to all the lemons that fell from the sky last week. Well, I am pleased to tell you that I sold them all to a company called Potatoes Are Us, who will be painting each one brown and selling those lemons to customers as large bitter potatoes. It was great. I made loads of money, didn't I, Linda? 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 Ugh, where is Linda? Who is Linda? Well, anyway, I did. I made loads of money. I got 17p and 3 salted crackers, so I'm feeling pretty smug right now. And look, it's so nice to be home. If you've not been listening to the show, it has been weeks since I could record Radio Nonsense here because of a terrible stinky hippo infestation. But now that's gone and the lemons are cleared, I can just put my feet up and check out what you lot have sent me for the mailbag this week. This is from yourmum.com.com.com.com in the United States. Oh, that's nice that listeners' mums have written in. They put this on our Apple Podcast reviews. Read, please. I am. You're welcome. Then they say, y'all who are writing these reviews are crazy, but we all agree this show rules. Oh, well, thank you, everyone's mum. That's very kind of you. But what does it rule? Should I be out there getting Radio Nonsense to sit on a throne and telling people what to do? I hope they aren't waiting for me to say something important.
Sire, we have been waiting here for many, many moons.
Like moons as in bums? Hang on a second. Who said that?
No, time passing. We waited through the thousands of years of stinky hippo stench, the millennia of lemon curses, and now we still await your instructions.
Millennia of lemons? I thought it was only around 15 minutes those lemons fell from the sky, and thousands of years of stinky hippo stench. Who and what are you?
We are the Lindites. We are a big, tiny, humble folk who worship Radio Nonsense. You and indeed Linda, wherever she is. Please, we need direction.
Oh, you're there. Sorry, I thought you were a green, pea? Fly?
We like the term pea flies.
Do you fly and pee at the same time? That is disgusting.
No, like green peas, which are what we use for homes, food and toilets. Whenever children don't like green peas, we can steal them and it keeps us alive.
Oh, you're all about peas in the world, I understand. But you need my help.
Yes, what shall we do now, oh leader? We haven't had anything to do for ages except sleep in peas, eat peas, go to the toilet on peas. Claire P tried growing a moustache, but it didn't work. And Eric Lindite still has his leg stuck under a Dorito. Nothing else has happened for a billion zillion Lindite years.
Oh, right. Well, I've never really tried ruling anything before. Have you, built anything great? You know, like a monument to Linda or something?
Thank you, sire. We will. Build, my people, build.
Good. Well, that's sorted. Gosh, ruling is easy, isn't it? I guess it just means I can keep my feet up now and tell all of you that if you want to send in anything at all, whether it's something you need me to read out on the show or a question you need to have answered, then please get your nearest drafty minimus, sorry, I mean grown-up, to help you email me at podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk. Or you can post a review to Apple Podcasts or any of the other sites that do that sort of a thing. By the time you hear this, the competition to win a signed copy of Gary Panton and Dottie Sutton's brilliantly funny book, The Not Witches, is now up, unless you are super, super, super quick. And I'll be announcing the winners of those books next week. Also, do please check out comedyclubforkids.co.uk for all of our live shows. The next one I'll be at is at our show at the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre on May the 25th. So if you come along to that, come and say hello.
Heave-ho! We must build the almighty pyramid of Linda!
That's so strange. Well, while these weird pea people get on with that, you have a listen to this. most important bit. It's very exciting, but returning right here to the Radio Nonsense podcast, it's the world's greatest crayon farmer. That's right, Joz Norris. Joz, how are you?
I'm good. I've been really busy in the crayon fields, but I've been able to carve out a bit of time to come down and chat to you because I just think it's so important to answer the big questions.
Thank you so much. And just when you say carve, you're not carving any crayons?
No. I've been leaving the crayons. It's sort of it's not quite harvest season yet for the crayons.
Okay.
They're all about 2 feet high, I'd say, at the moment, and you really want to get to the 3 feet point before you start harvesting them. And then obviously you chop them up very, very small, because our listeners will probably only know crayons as small things you can fit in your hand, and they won't realise that actually in the wild they grow up to about 3 feet, 4 feet, sometimes 5 feet tall. And that's all done in the warehouse. After we've harvested them, we chop them down to bite size so that you can use them for your drawings.
That's incredible. I had no idea that crayons got quite that big, and I
oh yeah, they can do. I mean, mine very rarely get to 5 feet, 6 feet. I'll be honest.
Sure.
I'm all about volume. I want to produce as many crayons as possible, which means because you're spreading the crayons across a larger area, it means they tend to be a bit smaller, about 4 feet. But if you concentrate on only 3 or 4 crayons at a time, they can grow up to 7 feet tall.
That's incredible. And then I suppose that's when you sort of enter the crayon growers competitions. You turn up with your largest crayon,
you're enthusiasts, you're sort of dedicated hobbyists. But for me, of course, it's my entire career. So I want to produce as many colours as possible. It's very important to me to have hundreds of thousands of crayons growing all at one time, because I want all the colours out there available to you, to your listeners, so that they can draw whatever their heart desires.
Yes, and I have heard that, because I know you're a very enthusiastic crayon grower, but it has been said you are, and I'm not saying this, and I wouldn't dare say this about you, but some people have said you're quite greedy about how many colours you want.
Yes. Well, I think I often walk into the shops and I see the crayon sets that are available, and it's usually something between 10 and 20 colours. And for me, I just think that's pathetic. I think it's rubbish. I go out to my fields and I see a million colours, a million different colours, and I feel like, why aren't we selling all of those in the shops? Why aren't we selling a huge wide packet? A million. I mean, maybe it's too expensive to make the packaging. I don't know. That's not really my department.
Yeah,
but I'd like, because there are some colours in here that you've probably never seen. You probably don't even know these colours exist.
No.
Have you heard of Flurple?
I haven't heard of Flurple. Is it somewhere?
I've got a Flurple crayon out here.
Wow. Is it somewhere between purple and Florence? I'm not sure what the other.
Yeah, I don't really know where the FL comes from. It's close to purple, but it's sort of a cross between purple and Blown. Do you know Blown?
No, let me guess. A sort of bluey brown.
Yes. So if you take Blown, which is a bluey brown, and you cross it with purple, then you end up with a sort of a Flurple. And again, I don't know where the F came in. I think that's sometimes we just like to get creative with our colour naming.
Yes, it's. I think why not have a Flurple? It's a very good name, but it's. Do you not think sometimes those colours are maybe too overwhelming? Especially children are the primary users, and I wonder, how many colours they're able to sort of comprehend.
Well, I think this is the sort of thinking that's really getting in the way of letting children achieve their full potential. I believe that children can see and comprehend all the different colours of the rainbow, and not just the 7 that we've decided to tell them about. Like, again, I'm looking out on my field now and I can see so many colours outside of that 7. And I think we should stop patronising our children. I think our children are smart. I think it's time to show them Flurple. I think it's time to show them Blown. I think it's time to show them Cred, which is a sort of a carroty red.
Oh, that sounds lovely. Yes, it's nice.
Some would just call it orange, but I like to call it Cred.
Yes, well, you have an orange as well as a Cred, do you not?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we've got orange.
Yeah. And how many shades of beige do you have? Because I remember reading somewhere you have something like 32 shades of beige, and
Yeah. Well, I think beige is one of the most exciting colours.
Right. Is that
when you see a beige thing? Don't you feel like, well, I want to see variations on this. I want to see what different kinds of beige there can be. I think all your listeners will agree that beige is the most thrilling colour.
Yes.
I bet if they were to choose their favourite colour, they would all say beige. So I think they would agree with me.
Yes, you're right. There's a lot of things in the world that are beige, and a lot of the best foods are beige.
Bread. potatoes.
Yeah, chips. No, I suppose
yeah.
they're still potatoes. Yeah, crisps. They're still potatoes. Potato waffles.
Chicken nuggets.
Yeah, chicken nuggets. Not potatoes.
It's
Yeah,
sort of beige.
Yeah.
Beige-ish.
Yeah, so there's a lot of beige in the best foods. So it makes sense. And what do you have you ventured? I mean, these are the ones that interest me. Have you ventured into the shiny colours, the golds, the silvers?
Oh yeah. I've got a little kind of a little orchard right down the bottom of the field.
Wow.
Because they're more bespoke, your shiny colours, so you don't need them in as such sort of like defined rows. You can have them growing a bit more wild. So I've got some golds, I've got some silvers, I've got some sort of metallic coppers down there. I've got a kind of a shiny blue lapis lazuli sort of strain down there as well, which I think is really lovely.
That's amazing. And how do you protect that from magpies?
Oh, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about it.
Oh,
I worry now that at the end of this chat, I'll go down there and they'll have been decimated by magpies.
yeah. I mean, they're magpies. I'm pretty sure. Maybe it's just a sort of
they love
fiction, but
shiny
They do
things.
love shiny things. So I suppose your crayons do crow quite big. No, I mean if they turn into crows, that would be good against the magpies.
Yeah,
but,
that's something's gone really wrong there.
Yeah, but no, they grow fairly
You're right.
big,
They're
so
going to
maybe
see them while they're flying over.
But will magpies be able to lift them? That's what I'm wondering. Maybe
That's true. I'll probably find a lot of magpies really straining together and flapping very fast to try and lift these crayons out of the ground. But their roots go very, very deep. Their roots can go up to a mile deep. Yeah, it can be really hard to uproot one.
Wow.
So I think I'll be okay.
It's a fascinating industry, and I mean, just even learning that, how big they grow. I think a lot of us don't know the history of crayons and how they, people did used to wield these huge crayons until it were sort of understood you could carve and use them in smaller ways.
They were lethal. They were absolutely lethal when used in battle.
Yes, yes, and you could tell when a team had won because the other team would be coloured in that crayon from head to toe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you saw obviously it's a food source.
Yes. If you have to eat it, then you can eat it. Not the ones that you can buy in the shops. The ones that your listeners might have at home. Don't eat those because they, of course, have been specifically engineered to be drawing crayons. But when you grow them in the wild, yes, you can take the fruit raw from the stem and eat it, and it's delicious. It tastes a little bit like a cross between mango and cheese. Sort of somewhere in that middle ground.
Would you chango? Would you go for a chango?
Chango, yeah. Which maybe should be a new colour. Actually, maybe I
mango
should christen
cheese. I think that would be. Do you know what? I don't. I mean, I'm going to go out there and say this. Sometimes on this podcast, we just have to sort of say it like it is. I've never met anyone in my life that doesn't like mangoes or cheese.
No, I think you're right. I know people who can't have cheese, who are intolerant to dairy, but I've never met someone that doesn't like cheese. Even the ones that can't have it go, oh, I wish I could.
Yeah, and I've never met anyone intolerant to a mango. Mango is generally accepted around the world, around the universe, actually.
Yeah, I think it's a universally accepted form of currency as well.
Is it?
I think if you haven't got a £5 note in your wallet or a postage stamp, because obviously everyone always says that's currency, then the next best thing is a mango. So if you're in the supermarket and they're not going to accept anything, take out a mango and then say, "What about this?" And they'll let you buy whatever you're trying to buy.
That's amazing.
I've not tested that, but I think.
What if you are trying to buy mangoes? Does that cause a problem if you're trying to buy mangoes using a mango?
That's a great point. I think if you're trying to buy a mango, then you have to use a postage stamp. That's the only, because the mango is already a unit of currency, so you've got to use a different accepted form of currency, but not money. I don't think you can buy mangoes with money. I think you can only buy them with postage stamps because of their unique status.
But you have to buy postage stamps with money, and then use the postage stamps to buy the mangoes. But then the mangoes you can exchange for anything else.
And then you can use the mangoes to buy money.
Yes, which is that's a lovely circular system, because I've often wondered, there are those shops, like, I don't know if you've ever met, and I say I don't think I've ever met her, but there are people who collect coins, but not like in the way you or I might, and where you put them in the bank and then you spend them. They just collect them.
Yeah, they just like the look of them. Yeah. They like what's written on the back and stuff.
But then they pay for those coins with coins, and I think you'd have more coins if you hadn't paid for the coins.
If you didn't do that, if you just held on to the coins that you have and wait for those to become valuable.
Yeah.
By themselves. Yeah, you're right. It's a really silly thing to do.
It's a very silly hobby. And I mean, similarly, stamps.
The silliest hobby.
They use a stamp to send off for stamps. And you think, well, just keep the ones.
Yeah, just keep that one and you'll be all right.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Do you? I mean, obviously you collect colours and crayons, but do you
collect
collect?
crayons,
Have you got a
yes.
hobby collection as well?
I don't really have a hobby collection, although I've just looked at a shelf in front of me and realised it's covered in badges.
Wow.
So
Right.
maybe I have a badge collection, although I don't think I've done it on purpose. I
Mm.
think, you get given badges a lot, I find, in life. Sometimes on your
Yes.
birthday, sometimes you might go and see a show and get given a little badge at the end to say, I saw the show. So I think I've inadvertently become a badge collector, but I've never set out to try and collect badges.
Yeah, and it's a tricky thing with badges because a birthday badge you can only really wear once because
Yeah,
you're
doesn't
not
really.
that age again. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Unless it says something like birthday boy
Oh
or
yes.
Mr. Birthday, you could
Oh
wear that the
yes.
next year. But then it might feel a bit like you're just repeating last year's birthday success.
Yeah, well,
And
if it
maybe
says
you
Mr.
wanna
Birthday
do
though,
something
you
new.
you could pretend that is your name. Your name is Mr. Birthday, and it's like a name
That's
badge.
true.
And then
Yeah,
wherever
so
you
you could
go,
wear it every day of the year.
yeah. Then
And people could say, "Oh, happy birthday." And you go, "No, no, my name is Mr. Birthday."
yes, which people I think would be quite. I think people would love to meet a Mr. Birthday.
Yeah, I think they would. Well, maybe I'll get that badge. Maybe I'll find out where that is
Yeah, just walk
and
around as Mr. Birthday.
start collecting. Add
Yeah.
it to my collection.
You'd need to always carry maybe a party popper on you. Maybe one
Yeah,
of
because
those
people are going to
napkins
have
that cake goes in.
expectations.
Yeah.
Yes, but no cake, just the napkin.
Yes, like you've
So that
maybe.
I can receive cake
Yes,
from other people.
that's right,
Anyone
yeah.
who's got cake, I can hold out my napkin.
I think there's like like there are certain things there are certain laws, aren't there? I think what are the laws? Is it that you can just give rubbish to a police officer? No, maybe that's not
Can
it.
you?
I don't know. There's something like that, or you
I like
can
that one.
you can shoot someone with a crossbow in a certain tower, or there's
Yes,
something like
I've
that.
heard
aren't
that
there?
one. Yeah,
I've never
yeah.
really. Or
Maybe is that why policemen have those tall helmets to put the rubbish in? So if
oh
you give the
yeah,
rubbish to the policeman, they'll take his helmet off and put your sandwich wrapper or your old bottle or whatever in there, and then put his hat back on.
that's nice.
So he's got like his own bin on his head,
That's
and that's
that's going to be very uncomfortable. No wonder they're quite grumpy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That must be it. Yeah, well, those are sort of all just things that are like the law, but like really old laws, but we can still
Yeah,
do
that
them.
people don't really use anymore.
Yeah, and I'm sure that one of them is if you put a birthday napkin out, someone has to put a piece of cake.
Someone
in
has to put a slice of
it. Yeah,
cake in there.
yeah, sure, it's the law.
I think you're right. I think I've heard that. I think I've heard that in court.
Yes,
I've heard
absolutely.
a judge pass that down and go,
Yeah.
"It is illegal to not put cake in the napkin," and then I
Yes.
think somebody had to go to prison for 3 days for it.
Yeah, I think it was
So
Greg's, wasn't it? It was
yeah,
Greg's.
yeah, that was it. Yeah,
Greg's.
yeah, it's serious stuff.
Really serious. It's taken down some pretty big bakers, that law, actually.
Yeah,
But if you're gonna break the law, you're gonna go down. That's what
Yeah.
I say all the time.
yeah. You must. You simply must.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, listen. I mean, I think that's a useful badge to have, and I think,
Yeah.
some. I suppose you could always be telling people you've seen a show. That's not a bad thing. There's
A show called Mr. Birthday,
yes,
perhaps.
yes.
You could claim that it's a weird coincidence because your name is Mr. Birthday
And
and
you've
you also
also
saw a
seen a
show
show.
called Mr. Birthday.
which would have been about you or wouldn't have been about you.
Yeah, hard to know. I feel like that it was about you is a coincidence too far.
Yeah,
I think
it's
to
fair.
get to the
Yeah.
theatre
Yeah.
and be called Mr. Birthday and then be watching a show called Mr. Birthday and be thinking, God, that's a big coincidence, that's my name. And then to watch it and find out it's your life story, I think would suddenly just become very scary.
Yes,
You
it
think,
turns
how
sinister,
did they
doesn't
get
it?
all this information?
Yeah.
Why did they make this show about me? They've already taken my name. Now they know every conversation I've ever had with my mum. How did this get in here?
Okay, but I'm going to turn it around again. That is sinister and
Okay.
upsetting, but what if you were played by like a really cool dog?
Then
Then it's
I
great,
think
right?
that's all you're
Then it's
thinking
great.
about.
Yeah.
You don't even notice that it's a bit creepy and sinister. You're just
Yeah.
thinking, God, that dog has got me down to a T.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
how I walk.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But then, what if you wait backstage to talk to the dog, and the dog
Mm-hmm.
insists it's his life, and he wants nothing to do
Oh.
with you, and he calls the police?
Oh, I don't like that. And then maybe you go home to tell your wife and children about what's happened, and the dog is there.
The dog's
And
there.
your wife and children are like, "Who are you? What are you doing
Yeah.
here?" "I'm just here with my husband, this dog." And you go, "No, no, I'm your husband, Mr. Birthday." And they go, "No, this is Mr. Birthday. Yeah, it's becoming nightmarish.
It is.
It's
It is
becoming
a bit
like
nightmarish.
a horrible dream.
Yeah, that's what it could go.
I'm glad it's never happened to me.
Yeah, you're very lucky. You're very. I mean, I think this would be this.
Really, it happens to most people.
Yeah, well, I think if you put on the Mr. Birthday badge, this is the future that occurs.
This is what
and,
happens.
you know, there's got to be a downside to all that free cake, and
You're right.
That's probably
Be careful
where it
what you
goes.
wish for.
Yeah, there are breeds
Like
of
the old
dogs that
saying
are
goes.
bred just to take over Mr. Birthday's life in
Really?
large West End productions.
Wow.
Yeah.
What kind of breed? Is it similar to a breed we'd know, or is it a kind of an unimaginable dog because they're being hidden away until they're needed?
No, they're not. They're not far off a Scottish Terrier.
Oh, okay. Oh, great.
Right.
Oh, well, they're nice.
Well, that's where everyone thinks,
Yeah.
but actually,
Get your guard down and then steal your life.
that's exactly what they're waiting for, and it's why their moustaches can, you know, they can look cozy, but they can look like a sort of evil villain's big moustache.
Yeah, like something they could stroke while doing a
Yeah.
big evil laugh.
Yeah, I just
Gosh.
think wear that badge with caution.
Yeah, I'll be careful with that.
Yeah.
Thank you for the warnings.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Listen, Joz, it's so nice to have you back on the show, and
Lovely
I'm
to be
so
here.
pleased
Lovely to be here.
you can come and tell us all about these massive crayons, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
But I've got a question that I do need you to answer, and
yeah.
As is always the case with the show, I've got to ask you some admin questions before that because
Yes, of
that is
course,
our
yes.
law. And if you break it, then obviously there'll be the judge. It causes all sorts of issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. You feel all right about admin?
Yeah, I love admin.
Oh,
I mean, crayon growing is 90% admin, I'd say,
course.
because most of the time the crayons are just out there growing. There's nothing I can do with them, so
Yeah.
I've got to fill my time with filling out spreadsheets about how many crayons there are going to be this year.
Do you fill them
Taking
out
orders.
in crayon or?
Well, no, I can't. That's the sad thing because the crayons are out there maturing, so I've got to fill them
course.
all out in pen, which to me is horrible.
Yeah, I bet.
Because I love crayons. I'm a crayon guy,
Yeah.
but I don't want to waste last year's good crayons
Yeah.
when I could be selling them to customers.
But that's how Big Pen have got it. Big Pen have always everything's got to be
yeah.
signed in pen. I never see
know,
anything
I
needing
know.
to be signed in crayon, and I
Yeah.
don't know how they got in there and secured that when largely
it's
they just
not
have fields
fair.
of blue or black pen. It's really boring.
Yeah, and then people like me are working so hard to kind of supply the market with enough crayons, and we just can't get a look in.
No, it's always the same with somehow the whole world highlights things with a highlighter pen, but no one ever crayons.
Yeah,
things
nobody's
to
highlighting in
make them
crayon.
stand out. No, it's a
I need to try and work out how to create an everyday situation where you must use crayon,
yes.
because I feel like crayon is always a kind of backup option in people's heads, and I've got to get it to number one somewhere.
There'll be a way. There's got to be a way. Yeah,
I think it's nearly there with colouring in. I think it's probably in the top 3 things for colouring in. But I think you've still got coloured pencils and you've still got coloured pens.
Have you thought about putting a Mr. Birthday badge on a crayon, at which point a dog will take over its life and perform a West End play that does incredibly
Yes.
well, and suddenly crayons are in the limelight?
Suddenly everyone's talking about crayons. Yeah, I just need a bit of PR noise around crayons,
That's
I
it,
think. I
yeah.
think you're right. I mean, I'm a humble farmer, so
course,
all this
of course,
business
yeah.
stuff, PR stuff, media stuff, it's just not in my wheelhouse. I'm not a natural promoter, but
Yes.
I'm working every day I get to improve the lot of crayons in this world.
I appreciate that, and I love the fact you have a wheelhouse, even though you grow crayons. But I like that you, you stored all those wheels just in case, and I think that's exactly.
Yeah, you never know when you might just branch out into the wheel
need
industry. 'Cause people always need wheels.
Always need wheels. It's good. It's good to have a backup. Well, listen, Joz, some extra admin for you. Then I'm sorry to add to
Yes.
your load, but you
No,
know,
no.
if you want to answer these in crayon, I don't mind, and I
Okay,
would in fact
great.
support it.
Yeah, I'll scribble some stuff down here while I talk.
That's
in
lovely,
crayon.
lovely, and it makes such a pleasing sound as you do. So the first question is quite it's an old one from the show. Actually, it came back. I think you may have answered it before, but it was due to popular demand, and by that I mean 3 people who asked. But this show is suitable for people of all ages, every possible age you can
Yes,
imagine: Bronze
yes, of
Age,
course.
Ice
Yeah.
Age. You know, and I just want to make
Ice
sure
Age 2.
Ice Age 2 as well, and 3.
Ice Age 3, Rise of the Dinosaurs.
That's the
is it
one.
called,
Yes,
I think?
yes,
Yeah.
I think so. Yes, I'm sure that's when they did arrive, wasn't it? The Ice Age,
Yeah, I
after
think-
all the mammals, and just
Yeah.
and probably some point during the Victorians. That was when there were
Yeah,
dinosaurs.
yeah.
Wasn't
That's
there?
when
It's
you
very
got dinosaurs.
confusing,
Yeah.
very confusing. But I just wanted to just make sure it's safe for all those ages. If there are any
Yep.
rude words that you won't be saying during this show.
Yes, of course. Well, I won't be saying the word yubnub today.
Oh,
Won't be saying it
wow.
at all.
Good.
Which I hadn't thought about in a long time, but I remembered it. Did you see the news that Star Wars is being re-released, the original version of
Yes,
Star Wars,
the proper
before they
version.
changed it? And one of the Star Wars films, of course, ended with all of the Ewoks singing Yubnub over and over again. And George Lucas very wisely cut that out in his version because it was so rude, so
very
rude to hear those Ewoks saying that rude word. So I'm not happy that they're putting this back in, and I won't be saying it today.
Is there? Can I just check though? Because and I agree, and I wouldn't want you to say yubnub on the show because I think we would be shut down.
no.
We'd be shut down very quickly. But
Yeah,
it is
they're
something.
always listening for it.
You know, we do have to be aware of other cultures, other languages. In Ewok language, does it mean the same thing?
Oh, maybe you're right. Maybe they were just singing, "Hooray, we won! It's the end of the film,"
Yeah, yeah.
rather than the very rude thing that we
Yes.
believe that yubnub to be.
Yes, yes.
You're right. Maybe you're right.
It's very
Maybe George
tricky.
Lucas made a mistake.
Yeah, it's very tricky when it's alien languages or languages from around the galaxy. We don't sometimes they don't translate directly. I mean, at the same time, all those Ewoks could have just been chanting awful curse words,
Yeah, very rude things.
very
And
rude things, and just
Luke Skywalker wouldn't have known. He would have had no idea what they were on about. He'd have just been smiling along.
yes,
He wouldn't have realised quite what was going on.
Yes, it's a bit like if you go on holiday
Naughty they were
and
being.
you say a swear word in English and no one there speaks English, and then you feel like,
Yeah, yeah, you feel like you've gotten away with it.
yeah, I've done it. I've said bums, and no
Yeah.
one knows what bums is. Yeah, it's pretty good. It is pretty good. I recently, it's a slight tangent, but my daughter likes Dua Lipa. I don't know if you've heard of.
Oh, yeah.
You've heard of her. She's the.
I know Dua Lipa.
I think it translates
She did a
as
great
two
song with Elton
leaps.
John a few years ago.
Well, there you go. There you go. Yes, I think there's.
Really good.
She's called Dua Lipa. There's not two of her, which is very confusing. But
Yeah, that's odd.
it's very odd. But she likes
Is
a
there
song.
an Una Lipa?
Well, that's what I wondered.
Out
A
there?
tria or a
Tria Lipa?
tria.
Yeah.
That sounds like you leap
Quattro
trees.
Lipa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very confusing actually. But yeah, so she has a song called Houdini where she
Right.
regularly says Houdini, but it is much more fun to sing like a Jawa from Star Wars, Houdini, over whenever she says Houdini. And then I thought, well, maybe they were singing about Houdini in the Star Wars
Maybe.
films. Maybe they're a big fan of the escapologist from the 1800s.
Yeah,
Early
could
1900s.
be.
Yeah.
Although 'cause Star Wars is a long time ago, of course, in a galaxy far, far away. So it depends just how long a time ago it was. If it was before the time of Houdini,
Oh.
then that might be difficult. But if it was, I mean, Houdini was a long time. He was was he a Victorian?
It was 1800s, 1900s?
1800s, I
Something-
think. Yeah, early 1900s. So,
Yeah, it's a while
so
ago.
even that is a long time ago. It could be that Star Wars was set in 1920.
Yeah, it could be that.
In
but
which
it
case that they could well have been
could
singing
be,
about Houdini.
or it could be that Houdini was a fan of the Jawas and named
Yes.
himself after those tiny little
After
cloaked
them.
creatures.
Yeah, could be.
Wow, Star Wars really has influenced life in ways that we don't understand. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, thank you for not saying Yubnub. I will certainly
I
not
won't.
say Yubnub.
I won't.
I wouldn't dare.
Yeah, please don't.
And to any Ewok listeners out there, I
We
suppose
apologise.
we're very, very sorry to misappropriate your language.
Hmm.
Well, thank you, Joz. The second question. This is a tricky one this week, but but
Right.
please do take your time if you need it. Joz, would you rather that every weekend you had to swap ears with an elephant, or you had to swap legs with a frog?
Every weekend I have to swap ears with an elephant or legs with a frog.
Hmm.
But do you know what? Neither of those sound bad to me.
Right. Okay.
It doesn't feel like I'm having to choose between two bad experiences. It feels like I have to choose which of these two good experiences I want
Right.
most. Because it's not permanent. It's only on the weekends. So during the week, I get to just live my life. So I think it's quite exciting, the idea of at the weekend. So I feel like elephant ears. I don't know if you would necessarily get better hearing. They're very big, but do elephants have amazing hearing? I'm not sure.
I don't know. That's a very good question, isn't it? Is it just sort of for show? just sort of showing
Yeah,
off.
because I guess everything's big with an elephant. So the
Yeah.
fact that their ears are big doesn't necessarily mean they have great hearing because, their legs are very big and yet they can't run that fast, I don't think.
I mean, we're talking about elephants now. I don't know if they can
Yeah.
hear it. Like, none of them are getting in touch to say, I can hear
Yeah.
you, this is rude.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah,
maybe they...
if you can hear this, tweet us now, please. And then just
Yeah.
check the Twitter feed. No,
I don't
nothing
think,
nothing
no.
coming in.
Could be
Nothing
that they
coming
don't
in.
use Twitter. Maybe they should text.
That might be it. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Whereas
still,
frogs' legs, I think, do let you do something that you couldn't normally do because frogs' legs are great for leaping.
that's
They're
true.
they're so long and bendy that you could bend right down and then do a huge leap. So I feel like maybe having frog's legs is going to give me almost powers, whereas elephant ears, I think maybe wouldn't give me powers. It would just give me huge flappy ears.
Yes, I mean, I think the thing you have to consider with frogs, and I should just say, you could leap. Do you think Dua Lipa's got frog legs? Anyway, it's just a side thought.
course.
Yes, maybe
Yeah.
that's Dua. Maybe that's why she's a leaper.
Yeah.
Yes, it's worth thinking about. But the frog's legs, I think you might be concerned about what trousers you have that would fit such bendy legs. You might also be concerned about being chased down the road by French chefs, by famous French chefs.
That's true. Yeah, I
Relax.
would need to wear quite baggy trousers that hid my frog's legs from view. Because if I wore too tight trousers, it would immediately become obvious that I've got frog's legs. And then if I'm having to hide them all the time, is it even worth doing? Surely I want the world to know about my cool frog's
Yes,
legs.
it's true.
It sounds like I'd be living in fear every weekend.
Yeah, that's true. That's quite worrying. And you also have to, I suppose, take into consideration, are they the same size as they would be on the frog or the ears on the elephant? Because if
That's a very good
frog's
point.
legs are quite small, you might end up
Yeah,
with
my
really
body
tiny...
is technically too big for,
Yeah,
for frog's legs.
you might have
I don't think I'd be able to leap at all if they were frog sized.
Yeah.
I think I would just I would be exhausted if those tiny legs were trying to keep up my human sized body.
Yes,
I think I would become very tired.
elephant ears might stop you wearing hats, but otherwise I think you could probably support them.
Yeah, well, I could probably kind of like tie them back like
that's
a
nice.
ponytail or a man bun.
That's lovely.
That you see those sort of cool hairstyles now where people tie up their hair on top of their head, and maybe I could do that with my ears.
That's
just
very
tie them
nice.
into a little top knot,
That's
and
lovely.
then it doesn't even matter that they're too big because they've just made me look quite trendy.
Yes, you could start a whole... Before you knew it, everyone's wearing elephant ears tied back. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think it's quite close to call this one.
I'm afraid you have to, again, it's a legal issue. You have to pick one.
I think I'm gonna lean towards the frog's legs, and I'm gonna hope that they're human-sized frog's legs that will enable me to do my heroic leaping.
Yes. And bear in mind that somewhere out there will be a frog with Joz's legs.
Yeah, and hopefully they'll be his size. They'll have shrunk down because
Yeah.
again, I think my human-sized legs with a tiny frog's body on top would also look very, very silly.
It would.
So
It would. But I hope they're
I
strutting
hope
around
that frog.
in a lovely pair of jeans on a Saturday afternoon
Yeah,
around the swamps. Lovely.
yeah, me too.
What a nice idea. Well, what a positive outcome to that one. Thank you, Joz. So thank you for thinking
No,
about
pleasure.
that. And
It's important to answer these big questions.
Absolutely. Well, listen, talk about big questions. This is why I've asked you here. We have had this question sent in from Vic909 in the USA.
Right. Lovely surname, 909.
Well, unless Vic is the 909th Vic and there are 908 other...
Could be,
Vics
yes. Perhaps
out
Vic
there.
is a robot.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't-
There have been 908 models of the VicBot, and this is the 909th model of the VicBot. So new and improved from Vic 908. New features.
Oh. What do you think? What do you think those include?
Maybe a pair of large ears that he can tie up on top
Nice.
of his head, or maybe a pair of
Nice.
spring-loaded legs so that he can leap as far as Dua Lipa.
That's very good.
I think that those will be good additions.
Yes, I hope there's an autocorrect feature and the ability to
That would
make
be good.
tea. That would be
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that would be useful. It's really lacking in the Vic 908, I have to say.
Really, no
Really.
T's at all coming out
No,
of that.
awful. But Vic 909, despite all these new developments and the upgrade, still has questions. Still has questions about the world.
Of course,
Maybe
of course.
they'll sort of
Well,
put
that's
it
why
into their
they'll need to be a Vic 910 at some point. But
yes, and it will go into the process. They'll learn from it. They'll
yeah,
develop it. It'll be like
yeah,
AI
yeah,
type
yeah,
thing. I'm sure
yeah.
it will be. So I'm going to read you this out. There are extra bits to this, but it's only the question we need to focus on. But I'm going to tell you the whole thing, so you've got the context. So Vic 909 says, "Great job, thanks Vic. That's very nice of you." I have a question. Why are stinky hippos so stinky? Please answer this question. Here are 23 super mega nuclear farts and some air fresheners to make up for the super mega farts.
Wow.
Yeah, that's nice of them.
That's really kind, yeah. It's kind to provide the farts for the fun that a fart can bring,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the air fresheners to reset us back to neutral, because otherwise we'd be surrounded by the farts for the whole conversation while we answer the question, and that might distract us.
Yeah, well,
So
it also because fart's really fun, but then there comes a point where it's not fun anymore, and then
no,
air
it's just
fresheners.
smelly.
Hooray! It smells like a pine
Perfect.
forest or whatever. So
Yeah. So that's really nice. Thank you, Vic 909,
really
for
nice.
sending both of those in with the question.
it's lovely.
It's a great question.
What do you think? What,
It's an important question, I think. Well, I wonder if it's something to do with Hungry Hungry Hippos.
Right.
Do you remember the game Hungry Hungry
I
Hippos?
do remember the game Hungry Hungry Hippos. Yes.
Which I assume our listeners will know about, but in case they haven't played it, it was a game where you would have some hippos and they would eat lots of little plastic balls, right? You would have to try and eat the most plastic balls. And I feel like we've all played that game. We know how accurate and true to life that game feels. You really feel like you're in a swamp with the hippos eating the balls. And I feel like they must have had to do a lot of research to get that game as accurate as it was. So presumably at some point, scientists were experimenting with hippos to work out what makes them hungry or what kind of food they like to eat if they are hungry. So there must have been this period of history where hippos were being fed all the different kinds of food that you can eat. And I wonder if they got a taste for it. And this is why they've become so stinky, is because they have quite a weird diet now.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. Right. So and that's interesting. I didn't think that was. So they were hungry hippos, but now they've eaten, and it's caused them to become stinky hippos because of this strange diet of large or small. I suppose it's large for the hungry stinky hippos, but it's small plastic balls for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the scientists must have tried many different things before they figured out it was going to be small plastic balls. They might have tried feeding them cake. They might have tried feeding them popcorn. They might have tried feeding them Wotsits. And it might be that these hippos loved this stuff so much that now they eat all of it. Maybe now they eat all these things, and that produces a specific stench.
That's
this
incredible.
combination of weird foods.
I mean, you know this as a crayon farmer, where you create so many different varieties, and you know how to do it. Do you want? I wondered, are these scientists wanting to create stinky hippos? Do you think they have their hungry hippos? They feed them certain things to become stinky hippos. Some are maybe sticky hippos. Some are maybe lovely fragrant hippos. Some are maybe overactive hippos. I wonder if they've got a little selection.
Maybe there's a
your
lot
hippo
of
needs.
games that never made it to market where they ended up with the game Hungry Hungry Hippos, but when they started experimenting, they didn't know what the game was going to be.
No.
So there might be all these prototypes: slimy hippos,
Yes, yeah. Tired
boring
hippos.
hippos, tired hippos,
Yeah.
happy hippos.
Yeah.
All the different kind of versions of hippos that you could have. And then the one that took off was about them being hungry and eating little plastic balls.
Yes, and the stinky
And
ones
perhaps
had
Stinky
to,
Hippos was one of them.
but that had to be
it's
removed
kind of
from the
forgotten.
shelves because it was
Yeah,
too
many complaints.
too stinky, and just people were avoiding the shops, let alone the shelves, and
yeah, they were all
Really?
going out of business. That's what's happened to W.H. Smith's, I think. You've seen they're
Yes.
shutting all the W.H. Smith's shops, and I think that's because W.H. Smith's was the only shop still selling
Stinky,
the original
Stinky
Stinky Hippos game. So nobody was going in. Everyone was going, I don't want to go in there. I love the place. I'd love to go in and buy a pack of crayons, say. WH Smith is a good place to buy crayons, but nobody was going in because of the terrible smell from this game.
It's awful. And you think about when it obviously first came out, there were all the adverts. People got it for Christmas. They got it delivered. That's Christmas ruined. Everything smells
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Brussels
everyone
sprouts even
unwraps
when you
the
haven't had
present.
any. Yeah.
Because wrapping paper, of course, can contain a smell. But
Very
it meant
clever.
that the minute you tear the paper off, which should be a really joyful moment when you tear it off and go, wow, it's a bike or whatever. But instead, people tore the paper off and everyone just went, oh, oh, why did you get me that? That's horrible.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is a shame because it was actually a very thoughtful gift. It was a really good game, but people never got round to playing it because of the terrible
Because
smell.
it's too hard to get near it to play it.
Yeah.
And if they'd thought it through, like Vic 909, and perhaps that's one of the upgrades they've had, if they'd bought Stinky Stinky Hippos as well as some air fresheners,
As well as some air fresheners, yeah.
then you could
Then
play it
they might have
successfully.
saved that Christmas.
Yeah.
But instead, now that family can't even do Christmas anymore. They're too traumatized. They won't buy a tree.
Yeah.
They won't do Christmas dinner because they go, no, we remember what happened last time we did this.
They've had to evacuate the house. It's covered in
Yeah.
hazard tape. There's
Yeah,
people in big
yeah. The
hazmat
doors
suits still.
nailed shut.
Yeah, it's, don't go near it. Everyone knows about the stinky house on the street, and
Yeah.
it's been condemned. And yeah, it's an awful time.
Sad to walk past it.
Yes, it's very sad. And
And
of
it'll
course,
probably turn into, I don't know, a Gale's or another chain cafe.
it
And
probably
that used to be someone's house, someone's home. And instead, the high street just becomes more and more of these franchises.
Oh.
And that's all because of the Stinky Hippos game.
it's very sad. And you also think, with all these hippos being collected up and put in boxes and not even sold, like what's happened to these? What's happened to the hungry or even stinky hippos in the wild?
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. We don't know what's going on in these research facilities. The places where they first pioneered these games and experimented with the foods and the smells. We don't know if the hippos are there waiting to be given the results of the experiments or whether they were set back loose into the wild. I feel like it's just a little bit of history that we haven't got closure on.
Yeah, you'll only know if you're ever out sort of exploring or adventuring somewhere in the jungle or the plains, and you smell something that makes you want to be sick down your own trousers, and it
Yeah.
burns your throat and your nose, and really is like a sort of rotting bins set on fire with old prawns inside, and that's when you'll go, right, this must be the wild land of the stinky hippos.
Yeah, you may be close, or you might be close to a policeman who's been given too much rubbish and he's put it
Yes.
all in his helmet, and that's where the stinky bin smell is coming from, is from the policeman's helmet.
That's a very good point, actually. Yeah, that's a very good
Could
point.
be one or the other. Depends where you are. Depends if you're in the jungle or just in a town. Because
That's
if you're in
true.
the jungle, probably the hippos, and if you're in a
Yes.
town, it's probably a stinky policeman's helmet.
If you have a stinky hippo, can you give it to a policeman to keep in his helmet? Is that allowed?
I think so, because how big is a stinky hippo? They're quite small,
Quite
right?
small, yeah.
About the size of a puppy, maybe. I think you could fit a puppy into a policeman's helmet, but it would depend how much other rubbish he'd been given that day.
True. Yes. True.
And you'd need to make sure there was an air hole.
Yes. Yes. Otherwise, really awful. The build up
Really
of the
sad,
gas and the
otherwise.
smells,
Yeah.
Explosive. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a complicated thing and a very dangerous. You can't just handle these stinky hippos without a level of expertise and
No,
understanding.
no, there needs to be planning ahead, which again is why Vic 909 has done so well. I think the level of forethought and planning and consideration that's gone into all this is really impressive.
Really impressive. But I have to say, I can't wait for Vic 910, 910 because that's going to be next level.
All this
robot.
information is
Yeah.
going to be absorbed, and it's going to come back with a question that, with even more levels of planning and care,
It's going
it's
to
going to be exciting. I
absolutely
think.
incredible. Absolutely
And
incredible.
then Vic 911, Vic 912, Vic 913.
Where does it end? Yeah.
They're just going to keep improving. Maybe it ends at 1,000, Vic 1000.
It sounds like a good number to stop at. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're not going to get
I
better
think
than
so.
Vic One. I'd probably have a jetpack and stuff. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at least. Maybe two jetpacks, one on the back and one on the front.
Wow. That's wow. You go so wow.
One,
That's,
one
I mean,
pointing up and one pointing down,
That's
so that
it,
you can
yeah.
fly in both directions.
That's these are visions of why you're doing so well in your industry, Joz. I think
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
Again,
think
it's
anyone's
just
thought
it's
of
just
that
the marketing. It's just the marketing where I fall down. But these crayon ideas, these jetpack ideas, if I can just get a businessman in to help me,
yes.
then I think they're gonna really go places.
Well, listen, I hope your jetpack ideas take off, especially. But
They have to. Really.
Otherwise it really failed the product. Yes,
Yeah.
but Joz, thank you so much for coming on the show again.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. And
thank you, Vic, for the question.
Your expertise is just incredible, and it's what's needed for these amazing questions from robots like Vic.
Yeah.
And what have you got coming up in the next 40, 50 years? Anything exciting?
Oh, in the next 40, 50 years, I'll probably do some comedy shows, I reckon. Probably do some live comedy shows.
Wow.
Might write some comedy things.
Wow.
Might act in some comedy things.
That's impressive.
Yeah, because the crayon stuff, it's fun, but I don't know if it's going to be what I do forever.
Sure.
Sometimes it's nice to get involved in an industry for a while and take it to the best place you can, and then try something completely different. So maybe I'll do some comedy. Don't know.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? If you walked on stage with a giant crayon, I think people would.
I think it's a start.
Yeah,
I think there's something in that.
Yeah.
But then, of course, I think I'll get tired of comedy as well, and I think I'll do something completely different again. Like maybe I'll become a manufacturer of light bulbs. I feel like there's so many different shapes of light bulb that we could be thinking about, and we've all accepted this light bulb shape.
Gosh.
And I think maybe I want to disrupt that industry a bit.
Yeah.
Come up with some new light bulb shapes.
That's great. Why isn't there a light bulb in the shape of a shoe? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is the kind of thinking we need.
Well,
I think I might have need of you in my light bulb business in about 30 years' time when I set it up.
Give me a call, because in 30 years' time, I will probably just be chasing down the dog that's stolen my life for a West End production, and I will need something else to do. So,
yeah. Well, let's radicalize light bulbs.
I can't
revolutionize.
I absolutely can't wait. Thank you so much, Joz, and I hope we'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much to Joz Norris for having time away from his crayon farm to help answer Vic 909's very important question about stinky hippos. Vic, I do hope you liked your answer, but if not, please attach any complaints you have to a stinky hippo, and it'll be immediately confiscated and placed in quarantine by scientists, and I'll never have to see it. If you have a question that you need to have answered, or you want to send in anything else at all, then please ask your nearest drafty minimus, grown up, to help you email me at podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk. If they would also like to support this show, they can sign you up for a small fee to the ad-free Early Access Linda edition on Apple Podcasts or at patreon.com/Comedy Club for Kids.
Behold, the mighty pyramid of Linda!
Oh, right. Sorry. Where is it? You're all very small.
Down here! Look, sire! Please gaze upon our monument for you, Linda and Radio Nonsense!
Where? I really can't see it. Do I have to stop putting my feet up now? I've had such a tiring few weeks.
Please, come over here, across this vast room, and witness this sight. It has taken us 7,000 years to build, and your approval will mean everything.
Ugh. Okay, feet down then. Right, I'm coming over. Where is it? Oh, was that it? Sorry. Lindaites? There's something really horrible green and sticky on my shoe. Weird. Ugh. Oh well, see you all next time, listeners. Bye. You have been listening to Comedy Club for Kids Presents. Radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense. It's the end.